Good morning to you. Hi to you on Facebook. Hello to you here on Instagram. Tanj here, having a morning cup of tea, coming to you live from Cygnet, a beautiful little magical town in the Huon Valley of Tasmania that has a population of around, I think it's 1,560 people. Gorgeous, gorgeous little space here. So I'm here hanging out with some dear friends, flying back tonight. So coming to you live from sunny Cygnet. How are you? Hey, Rod Fitzgerald, great to have you here. Taylor, lovely to have you here. Good morning, sharing a cup of Earl Grey tea. Tea is my religion, so I love it. I can't see who's tuned in on Facebook yet, but it'll load soon and I can say a personal good morning to you. So first of all, I just want to send a big, big thank you and love to you for your well wishes for my Mentor of the Year award, thanks to RAB last year. I really appreciate all your support and kindness. It really means a lot to me. And I'm very, very happy to be here with you and answering a cue that I got during the week from a leader that is struggling to deal with an employee that is bringing their personal funk to work. So let me begin by reading the question to you so I can give it some context. As you're tuning in though, please type in live if you're watching this live and record if you're watching the record. Hey Erin, great to have you here, my love. Hello to everyone that's joining in on Facebook. Karen Hardy, great to have you here as well. So here was the cue that I got from this particular leader. Hi Tanj, I have a new employee. She is currently on probation. After starting with us, her marriage encountered some issues. I've been supportive and have given her additional time off when she's needed it. She isn't performing her tasks as required, and is arriving late almost every morning. I struggle to understand how I can manage her as she is struggling, but we all have our struggles and we all need to manage them and step up and do the right thing. By not completing her tasks, it's having a real impact and load on other employees, and they're having to pick up the slack. I would love some rapid fire advice from the leader with heart. First of all, thank you for asking the question, because I love nothing more than to be of service and help you navigate the challenges that are in your business. G'day Noah, great to have you here. Hello also again to friends that are joining us on Facebook. I'll see your name soon. And thank you for also the kind comment of the leader with heart. I do love to lead with love. I think it's important. So let's just break this down. Here's the first thing. I want to just unpack what are the risks if we do nothing. So if we just ignore this, what are the risks? Number one, the risks are, well, the tasks aren't going to be done. We already understand it's putting, there's everybody. Hey, Jackie. Hey, Greg. Hey, Annie. Hey, Julie. Hey, Sarah. Hey, everybody else. I'll keep going. So the risks are, if we do nothing, tasks won't get done. It's putting an additional load on your existing team. That may impact the quality of client experience and service. That may impact the brand reputation. G'day, Fiona. Great to have you here. Good morning, Rick. Thank you for your lovely comment and your beautiful message too last week. And that'll just impact the standards of the business. And here's the real impact. When leaders don't address poor performance within teams, it sets the status quo. And one of my favorite quotes is, we teach people how to treat us by what we allow, what we stop, and what we reinforce. And another one of my favorite quotes is, and this is critical for leaders, if you've got a pen and paper, please people write this one down. Don't if you're driving, but if you're not and it's handy, capture it. The standard you walk past is the standard you accept. Now, I know that leadership is a real gap in this particular industry based on the CoreLogic RP data research we did, a 44-page document around the real estate of leadership. We know that evaluation out of the 6 empowered leadership practices is the biggest gap that we have, meaning leaders in any industry, but let's be specific with real estate and property, lack the skills and competency, not the desire or the intent, but currently, generally, leaders lack the skill and competency to effectively performance manage, and that's having a real impact, because if we don't deal with this stuff, it significantly impacts connection, and erodes connection, it creates an us and them culture, and according to, and what else it does, and disconnects it, which is just unhealthy. Lovely to see you for another Monday morning. Thank you, Julie. Hey, Brendan, great to have you here as well. Thanks for tuning in. Tanya, Holistic Home, thanks for tuning in, everyone. This is a subject that's really close to my heart because I think leadership is a privilege, not a right, and it's a big responsibility, and with great responsibility comes great sacrifice, and we need to sacrifice our own desire to be liked to effectively lead. So they're the risks if we do nothing. It actually has a significant ripple effect, and it will affect morale and culture. And then you have a mountain to deal with as opposed to a little molehill. Now, so they're the risks. So let's unpack what would I recommend to someone that is navigating this journey. So this particular question, the leader that asked it, g'day Susan, the leader that asked it, hey Kelly, actually said this person is on probation. So you, as a leader, the performance of your people is a direct result of your leadership. I'm going to say that again. The performance of your people is a direct result of your leadership. So when people are joining your company, I would ask you to have a personal reflection and ask, do we have a solid induction program? And I'll be utilizing the favorite architecture that I share, which is the 3 steps for success. It keeps things super simple, and it creates an amazing architecture to lead and coach from, but also to induct and guide from. So those that tune in regularly, you'll know this because I bang on about it all the time, but the 3 steps for success are standards, strategies, and state. So as a leader, please make sure when you're employing new people, you have a solid induction program that clearly articulates the standards of the business and the brand, but also the standards of what's expected from the role that you're hiring that person to do. What are the standards? And the reason you want to establish clear standards is so you have goal congruency. If you don't have goal congruency and a values alignment, you're going to be on AM, they're on FM, and there'll just be a disconnection between effectiveness. So ask yourself a personal reflection, is this person clear of the standards of our business and the standards of the role? You'll get a yes or a no, and you can, action that accordingly. The second step for success is strategies. Do they understand the strategies and tools and resources that we're providing them to do their role effectively? But also, certainly on a probation period, have you communicated at the beginning of their employment and their engagement the strategies that you will adopt as a leader if they're not meeting the standards? Are they clear of the play of the game? And then finally, if they're the third step for success, if their state, their physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual state that they're bringing to the workplace every day is not meeting the standards, have you shared with them the strategy that you'll adopt to communicate the lack of standards in accordance to their state effectively? G'day, Lloyd. Great to have you here, champ. Hope you're healing well. You're a double whammy, Instagram and Facebook. Look at you. So is this making sense so far? So if someone's not performing, ask yourself, where have I been clear in my communication about the standards? Do they understand the strategies we're going to adopt if they're not meeting those standards? And how can I cultivate and create an environment for their state to rise and thrive? Because people that are new, they feel like a little fish in a big pond. So that's the first thing I would ask you to reflect on. Now, secondly, there needs to be a conversation. So avoidance is not the key. Ostracizing yourself from the situation will not work, as we've already unpacked the risks. So let's call this lady Betty. I don't know why Betty, that's just what popped into my head in the shower this morning. Okay, so this employee who's on probation is Betty. She's having some personal issues at home. In her marriage, this particular manager has given her the space and grace to effectively deal with it, but it's actually having an impact on work now, and it has for some time. She's like, how do I manage this? So it's time for a conversation. My advice would be we bring Betty in, have a cup of tea. It doesn't have to be scary like we're going to the principal's office. How we set the environment and set the tone will really create the atmosphere for trust and transparency. In some cases, it's just great to get people out of the office and go to a cafe, go sit on a park bench, have a change of scene, which creates a change of state. Hey Taz, hey Kellyanne, thanks for tuning in. We're unpacking how do you deal with employees and staff that are bringing their personal funk to work. As I said, if you're watching this live, do me a favor, type in live, and if you're watching the record, please type in record. So you might like to meet with Betty in the office, or I'm a real fan of taking people out of their typical environment because it alters their experience and can crack open a new reality for them to communicate from. Wherever you are now, I would begin with just checking in, saying, hey, Betty, how are you and how's everything going at home? And Betty will respond with how Betty responds. And obviously you need to have the emotional intelligence to navigate that response and listen from a place of compassion and empathy, because as a leader, I personally believe we're guardians and custodians of these people who are fulfilling on their human potential. It's not ideal that Betty is bringing in her funk to the workplace. However, don't underestimate the influence that you can be as a leader in someone's professional and personal life. Now, if you're giving them coaching and guidance and feedback and support and nothing's shifting, then it's a performance management issue, which is what we're talking about now. Let me know if this is making sense. Oh, hey, Kellyanne. Thanks for your oh, hey. Okay. So we've taken Betty out of the office. We're sitting down, we're asking Betty, how are you? How are things at home? And you're listening with generosity. You're listening from no judgment. You're listening with compassion and really getting her world. That's the first thing. When you are listening, often we're not really listening, right? We think we're listening, but the fact is we're typically listening to the little voice in our head that is agreeing, disagreeing, judging, assessing, preparing our response, or in some cases, even our defense. So are you listening? Because if you are truly listening as a leader, manager, or emerging leader, or parent, or colleague, or friend, or lover, or wife, or husband, as a human being, when you're listening from a place of nothing, no judgment, no fixing, no changing, the gift that you give people is the experience of being gotten. It's like you become a human catching meat. You've caught them. You've caught their communication. It doesn't mean you're wearing their stuff. That's a different reality. But if you catch people's communication, they feel it. That's one of the biggest gifts you can get. Ashley, g'day, good morning. Watching live. Congratulations on my award. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Valerie, #1 mentor. Mwah. I love you, sister. Thank you, my love. Okay, so listen from a place of nothing so your people can really feel you and get that you get them. Then I would, after I've asked, but how are things going with you and how are things going at home? You've already established trust, right? So you've got that background of relatedness. You can ask that personal question. Here's the next key question I would ask. Betty, how do you feel what's happening at home is currently impacting you at work? Hey, Calmstar. Hey, PK. Why is this a critical question? If I just launch in with my observation of what Betty isn't fulfilling, Betty's ego is going to get activated and she'll get defensive and potentially shut down, and you won't actually get any transformation or any sense. But if I ask Betty to reflect on, if I ask her how she is and then I say, how do you think what's happening at home is currently impacting your role at work? What I'm doing there is I'm asking her to I'm really checking on her emotional intelligence. Is she aware that it is having an impact? And if Betty responds with, yeah, well, to be honest, it is actually having an impact. I'm not really coping. I'm not really completing my tasks. I understand I've been late a few times, and I can imagine that's not cool and stressful for you, and probably other people are picking up the slack. Now, if Betty has good emotional intelligence and that's kind of her response, g'day, Julie. I should have you on the call because you're a HR guru. You would have great resources for these kind of questions. In fact, that's a really good question. That's a really good thing, Julie. Let's talk about doing a mindset mastery session with you on how do you manage the people issues, because it's a big thing. Let me know, Julie, if you're keen to share. What do you do at eView to create great cultures? And congratulations on your award, the Wellness and Advocacy Award for the industry. Huge, huge effort. So if I ask Betty, how what's happening at home is how she thinks it's affecting her at work. As I said a couple of times, it tests her emotional intelligence. Then if she has high levels of emotional intelligence, I can respond to her by saying, Betty, thank you for your honesty. I really appreciate that. And you know what? I happen to agree with you. It seems that what you're navigating at home is actually having an impact at work. And you're right. It's putting a bit more pressure on the other team. Yes, you have been late on numerous times, and it's actually becoming a consistent issue. And to be honest, it's really unsustainable. So we're at this point now where we need to have a straight conversation about where we go from here. When we ask our people to reflect, it's an empowering act that also diffuses that principal student scary situation of confronting these personal things. Now, does that make sense though? Let me know if this process is making sense. Asking Betty how things are going, asking Betty if she feels what's happening in her personal life is having an impact. And if she has emotional intelligence and she responds with understanding, you can then say, well, I happen to agree with you. And thank you so much for your honesty. It really means a lot. Okay. You keep building rapport, establishing trust, and navigating a transparent conversation. What do you do though in the situation where Betty or Bob, exciting names I know, have no emotional intelligence and are completely oblivious to how they are impacting others? Good morning, my eldest daughter, Kaya Ruby Jones. I love you. I'll see you tonight when I get home. So if I was to ask Betty or Bob, how are things going at home? And do you feel that what's happening at home is impacting you at work? And they go, oh, no, I feel like I'm showing up and I'm doing what I'm supposed to do and, contributing, and it's fine. Go, okay, great. All right, well, thank you. I happen to have a different point of view, and I want to share my point of view with you because maybe what's happening at home, you may not be aware, but it is actually having an impact at work. So are you open to me at this point of sharing with you my observations of how what you're navigating may actually be or is actually in the workplace? Hopefully you've established a great background of a relationship. This particular manager said that they've been working with this person before, letting them have time off, giving them what they need, but it's kind of getting out of control. And again, notice what I do there. I ask, are you open to me at this point in time giving you some feedback as to how I do believe what you're navigating is impacting you at home? It's the same kind of questioning you want to do in a listing consultation with vendors and buyers. For those of you that are agents, you're asking permission. And when you ask permission to give advice, to share an observation, to respond to questions, you not giving them the power, but you kind of are. You're creating a foundation where they can actually respond with yes, which means defenses are down. Or if they are really vulnerable, if they are having a really shitty time in their marriage and they're hitching it up, turning up late, not doing their tasks and coming to work, and you don't ask permission to give them feedback at that time and you launch into it, it could have a negative impact. Does that make sense? Hey, Julie, Murray, great to have you here. So asking permission, is it okay if are you open to me giving you some feedback at this point in time to help you understand how I think it is having an impact? Hopefully Betty or Bob will say yes. And then you go, great, I appreciate that. And then you give the feedback. Well, Betty or Bob, you've been employed to do this and you're currently not fulfilling X, Y, and Z. Over the past 3 months or 2 months, you have turned up late 17 times. The result of this is we have other members in our team that are picking up the slack, and as agreed upon starting your probation, these are the standards of our business and this is the standard of the role. And remember, I said to you up front that if you weren't meeting the standards in your probation period, the next step would be we would have a straight conversation and talk about what's getting in the way, try and support you. We've already done that. Now we're at that second step where it's becoming a performance management issue. And then you go and have the conversation around what needs to happen next. So that's what I would recommend. Number one. And then, I'm not going to spend obviously a whole lot of time going through all the different scenarios and how the key is all, I'm sure you agree with this. Emerging leaders, managers, and leaders. When you're leading people, you must make sure that you are tracking their performance, the good stuff and the stuff that needs working on. They say catch people out doing great things often. If you need to give people feedback, it must be given in 2 particular ways. It's got to be specific and it's got to be timely. No point saying to someone, listen, 14 days, 7 hours, 3 minutes and 17, 18, 19 seconds ago, Betty, Bob, you did this and it didn't work. They'll be like, what are you talking about? I've done a million things since then. So make sure your feedback is specific and timely. Be specific about what's not working. And I love the 3 steps for success because you can always bring it back to the architecture that your business runs from or the framework that you lead and coach from, which depersonalizes it. Thank you, Calmstar, for your beautiful acknowledgement of the award. I'm very humbled and grateful and appreciate the love. And so don't avoid it, because the standard you walk past is the standard you accept, and then you create a mountain out of a molehill. And hey, Carly Frost, if you don't have a solid induction program or process when people start, you are going to create a lot of work for yourself, because people don't know where they stand. And if you don't know where you stand, you'll fall for anything. Great leaders have fewer messages and repeat them often. Great leaders have simple architecture, which is a framework for people to navigate and work within and from. And great leaders are not consumed by being liked. They are consumed by leading. And leading means sometimes you have to have the straight, tough, real, honest, authentic conversations. Now, if you're a leader and you're watching this and you're like, you need to have these conversations, and you're avoiding them because you don't feel confident, the only way through is through. The only way you can develop competency, which is the step you need before confidence, is to something inside of this that gives you some skills or insight to practice. What do you do when your people are bringing funk to work? And please don't ignore it. Please don't ignore it. I want to hear from you. Hey, Val, does this make sense? What are you hearing for yourself? Have you had to give feedback to an employee? You know, the other thing is, I'm really into servanthood leadership, as many of you may know. I'm also deeply into vulnerability and courage. And there's, the amazing international research storyteller, best-selling author, Dr. Brené Brown, who studies shame and vulnerability and courage. And she's got an amazing book called Dare to Lead, which I really recommend you get, by the way. Too many leaders, I think, put pressure on themselves to kind of be someone they're not and have it all sorted. At the end of the day, we're human beings coming together for a common cause and the greater good. And you know what? Sometimes if you don't feel like you've got the training and the scripts and the dialogues and the skills and the experience to have those kind of performance management conversations, I'm a real fan of just being real and taking Betty or Bob out of the office and saying, how are you going? How are things at home? And I don't see any harm. People may disagree by saying, you know what? And even putting your hand on your heart when you speak and say, this is not an easy conversation for me to have, because I really care about you and I appreciate you going through stuff at home. However, I do need to give you some feedback that it's having an impact. And I want to provide a resources to support you at home, but I also have a responsibility for the rest of my team. And I'm not willing to put them in a situation that puts their existing work and our client experience under pressure because of anybody else. And I hope you can appreciate that. This comes back to, g'day Owen Davies, this comes back to a great quote that says, speak your truth even if your voice shakes. People will feel where you're coming from. I think it's a responsibility of a leader in an office and a brand and a franchise to make sure they do have those coaching, associations, groups like Beyond Blue. There's many different organizations now nationally and statewide that can provide free therapy, coaching, resources. Please make sure as part of your induction that you have a sheet available to say, hey, listen, we're human beings. We have dynamic lives. We understand stuff happens. Stuff happens to all of us. We care about you and we're a holistic company. This is not just about you thriving at work. This is about you thriving in life. So if you ever do navigate some issues at home, here are some resources we recommend. Or we actually have a service provider that we associated with that you get 3 complimentary sessions. It's completely confidential. We don't hear about it, but it's there for you to use. Hey, Joanne, great to have you here. Hey, Audi Mornington. Hi, team. Nice to have you here. Thanks for all the service, talking about customer service that you provide to me. So does that make sense? Let me know. Yes, makes sense. What can you hear for yourself that you will adopt if you're a leader or a manager that needs to performance manage your people? What was the thing that I shared that you think that's the thing I really need to do? Ask yourself, do you have human resource tools and associations and groups as a handout that you give your people in your business to show a level of duty of care? Are you demonstrating how you're supporting your people to rise and thrive? I'm keen to know. So to the person that asked that question, I hope you found that useful. To those of you that chose to tune in, so much sense. Thank you, Calmstar. I really appreciate that. Calmstar, tell me, what was the thing that you heard that you dug the most or resonated with the most? Please let me know. So remember, Mindset Mastery Monday is where I come on live here on Facebook and Instagram to provide my best aid to your cues. It'll be completely confidential. There's nothing I won't answer. And if it's something I don't have experience in, I will research a resource that I can help. Erin, taking on leadership role currently and definitely helps me look at situations differently. Awesome, Erin. I'm glad to hear it, my love. Remember, we have a responsibility as leaders to cultivate an environment that's a petri dish for growth. Either your people grow or disease kicks in, and it's our responsibility. When I say disease, dis-ease. And disease is a culture we do not want to grow in our business. So ask yourself, are you clear on the standard strategies and state you expect from your new inductees and your people? By the way, Julie, if you're still watching, you'll attest to this. As I said before, great leaders have fewer messages and repeat them often. Don't just let this be the thing that you communicate on induction. This is something that you have to communicate on a consistent basis. What are your standards for performance for individuals in the collective? How do you support them with resources, tools, and daily rituals and connections and performance management, development plans to have them rise and thrive? And what's the state of your people? Look around. What's their body language? Are they showing up late? Are they disengaged from meetings? Are they not present? If they're not present, they're not engaged, and maybe there's some funk eroding their ability to perform. Get curious, get interested, let them know you are there for them. Julie, you're very welcome. Thank you for your acknowledgement. And don't be afraid to have those tough conversations. Buy the book, Dare to Lead. Feel free to share this with those of you who you have friends in management or leadership or emerging leader positions, because I hope that it helps them. As I was saying before, remember that my for you, I just turn up every Monday. I'll provide my best aid to your queue, completely confidential, just to give you a raft to navigate anything you're stuck, oscillating, challenged, or confronted by. So if you have something that you need some support with, DM me, reach out to me, write a comment, send your question, and I'll do my absolute best to be of service. And remember, I'll be back here live 8 o'clock on Friday this week for Rapid Fire Friday. That's when I reflect on all my one-on-one private coaching themes for the week. I distill it down to the top few, and then I just rapid fire some tips that I shared my clients, and hopefully you can pick up a couple of things that'll be of service to you in your business. Calmstar, having a real conversation and speak even if your voice shakes. Isn't that a beautiful quote? I bloody love it. I think it's beautiful. People, Julie Anderson, what we walk past, we accept. The standard you walk past is the standard you accept, and you set the status quo. It's going to be harder to bring your people up when your behavior and your avoidance and your ignorance has actually said, that's okay. Yep, that's okay. And remember, as I said at the beginning, when you don't performance manage people, this is one of the quickest way you as a manager or leader or emerging leader will lose respect from the collective, because they know that you're aware and they know that it's impacting them, and that's just not going to fly. So thank you for spending your quality time with me. I really appreciate your congratulations on me becoming Mentor of the Year. It's a real honor and privilege. I'm still pinching myself. Does this feel real? To get acknowledged to do what I love to do the most, and that is supporting you to get access to live a happy and deeply fulfilling life, and cultivating and creating that for your tribe, your people. So I'm here for you. Please, the best thing you could do is tell me how this made a difference for you, or what you're going to use and implement in your business or your mentoring and coaching and leadership. Tag a friend who you think, I know they're navigating something with an employee or a staff member or colleague, even leader right now. And if you feel to share it, please share it. It's absolutely from my heart to yours. Calmstar, I like that. What we walk past, we are willing to accept. Yes, write that down. So I look forward to your company, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday. Stand in your truth and you will be rewarded 100 gazillion%. Ask yourself, am I addicted to being liked, or would I be happy to lead? Leading means you got to speak the truth, even if your voice shakes. And to finish off, as always, with the late great words of Maya Angelou, what a great energy to start the week. You're very welcome, Julie. Thank you for your feedback. In the words of the late, great Maya Angelou, one of my favorite quotes of all time, try this on in the fitting room of life, if you will, today and see how it resonates with you. Remember, people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Thanks for making me feel great by choosing to spend your valuable time with me. Make yourself and others feel great today, and that means having the tough conversations at times. Hope it was of service. Go seize the day. Have an amazing week. Tune in 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time Friday for Rapid Fire Friday. Let's get you access to living and creating your best team and environment and business yet. And life. Go well. Travel well, my friends. Have a beautiful day. And we will see you soon. Thanks, Facebook friends. Have a beautiful day. Happy Monday.